What is up, Level Up Nation, and welcome to the special E3 2021 recap show presented by Level Up Live, your home for gaming and esports news, brought to you by OTN Media. My name is Fiasco. You can call me John. We're all friends here, and that dude next to me is the king of the courtside king, and his name is Joey. Oh, Joey, it has been an absolutely packed weekend. It's been a packed Monday. It's been a packed Tuesday. We've been watching every single one of these showcases. We've been taking notes. We've been writing everything down. And here it is. It's time for that recap show.
Yeah, it is. It is time. It has been a long weekend, guys. Lots of E3 action. Some people thinking E3 not quite as good this year. And I think that could be the case with some of these showcases. We'll definitely be breaking that down tonight. But on top of that, John, you've had some WizDG casting as well. You have some more later this week. We've been writing tons of articles. It has just been very, very busy with this event.
Yeah, it has been absolutely just booked. And I personally would not have it any other way. I think it's been absolutely fantastic. Realizing right now, I'm taking a look at our slides for later in the show, Joey, and just realized our cameras are all out of position. So I'm going to have to do that real quick. But Nation, before we even get to the cameras being out of whack and all the other fun stuff, I have to remind you, there is social media that you need to be following us on. Of course, follow the show at Level Up Live. That is at LVLUP Live. That is on Twitter and Facebook. Are we still on Facebook, Joey? I don't even remember if we're on Facebook anymore.
OTN is. It's at OTN Media over there. I don't remember if Level Up has one or not. Just follow the OTN page. That's pretty much the one to follow.
Yeah, it's pretty much safer to do it that way here as I get Joey's box. Look at that. See, look at that. That's called editing on the fly, Joey. I feel overly accomplished right now. So let's see here. My notes are on a completely different screen today because we have so much set up here for you. We're going to be bringing you the trailers of all the talked about games throughout the entire show. So it is going to be it's going to be a fun production side for me here today. So Nation, again, the social media, that's Twitter and Facebook at Level Up Live. And also make sure to give myself and Joey a follow on Twitter. That is at Courtside King for Joey, at Fiasco for myself. And follow along for all the amazing gaming and esports news that we bring to you. And also, as always with Level Up Live, we will have this show available on the podcast version of the show, Level Up Podcast, available on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, and pretty much wherever a podcast RSS feed is being able to be pulled from, it's going to be there too. Just look up Level Up Podcast, and we will be there. And since you're listening to the podcast version, leave us a review, because reviews do go a long way, not only helping grow the audience, but also giving us the feedback that Joey and I would so desperately love. To make sure this show is what you, our listeners and viewers, would love to hear and see on the show. So definitely leave us a review. Joey, it's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. We're talking E3 today. What exactly about E3 are we touching on? What showcases are we talking about? And what can we possibly tease here going forward?
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys got our full Summer Game Fest opening kickoff coverage last week. This week, we're diving more into E3. So we did co-stream the Xbox Bethesda event. We'll be touching on a couple things from that event as well today, but for the most part, staying into other events that we have not covered yet on stream. So we'll be talking Ubisoft, which I know OG Flavortown in chat is already very excited for. We have Devolver Digital on the radar. Square Enix, we're going to touch on a couple things in there. The PC Gaming Show and that amazing Valve announcement that came out. We have Nintendo. We're going to dive into that today. Nintendo really hitting a lot of the nostalgia points for older gamers as well. On top of that, we're going to dive into a couple other things like the new Smash Fighter being added in, looking at Breath of the Wild in that Nintendo showcase. And then we're just going to wrap everything up together, give a few ratings from John and I of games that stood out and games we're looking forward to. We'll probably talk a little bit about Game Pass because that is just the nature of the show around here. But lots and lots of games to cover today.
Game Pass because this show is one half Xbox shill. So it's completely fine. Joey, it's time for the drink of choice here before we dive into this E3 breakdown, and I'll be completely upfront. I don't have alcohol. I don't have an adult beverage. I'm not saying I don't have alcohol. I have quite the arrangement over there of alcohol, but I am not drinking tonight because I'm feeling we're going to be doing a lot of talking. So I'll go ahead and just get the disappointment out of the way before I ask you, I'm chugging the water tonight. I'm staying hydrated. Got to make sure the voice is good to go. So, Joey, hopefully you're carrying the show here.
I am. I'm carrying it with some H2O as well, co-host synergy.
Let's
Yeah, no,
go.
I'm drinking water tonight. It's been a very long couple days, guys. Like between reading articles and writing emails, and like one of the big things with E3, it's great being able to cover all this content for you guys. But one of the other things is setting us up for the future of covering more content for you guys. So we've been doing some networking via email and reaching out to people and dropping business cards. So it's just been very, very busy. So we are very tired as well. But hopefully, not only for tonight's show, but for many shows into the future, getting access to some more keys and making new connections to be able to bring more content to you guys.
All right, Joey. So with that, I say we dive into it. We have a lot to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and swoosh us over to the hopefully fixed screen that has our amazing web page browser on it as well. And just like that, I fixed it on the fly. We look absolutely fantastic. Your box is a little zoomed in, but I think that's fine. I think you're good to go. It's totally on my end. I can't crop it when it's that tiny here on my screen. So, Joey, let's go ahead and kick it off. Let's go ahead and start with, looks like Ubisoft. Let's go ahead and kick it off, Joey.
Yeah, we're going to kick it off with Ubisoft. I love that I look taller in my box over here.
You really do.
It makes me look a lot taller than I really am, guys.
I'll fix it. I'll fix it. I'll make it short.
No,
again.
it's okay. I can have my extra few inches of height tonight, John. Ubisoft, we're going to kick things off with Rainbow Six Extraction. So this was the game that was originally announced. It started out, I believe it was called Rainbow Six Outbreak when it was in game of Rainbow Six Siege. Then eventually it came out and they were looking to make it into a bigger thing. It ended up being called Rainbow Six Quarantine. Then they changed the name again because of, let's say, some negative feedback based on stuff going on in the world with the pandemic. They changed it to Rainbow Six Parasite, and then it got changed again to Rainbow Six Infection or something. So on the fourth name, they have finally settled on Rainbow Six Extraction. We got our first look at it on Saturday. I'm pretty excited for this, John. I think one of my holdbacks, though, is that it's only 3-player co-op. When you look at a game like this, I feel like 4 players should be the minimum, maybe even 5 players to push the limit a little bit more. But as far as creativity with the different zombies, with the different operators available, and some of the little bit of abilities we saw so far, I think the game has potential. The biggest holdback for me is still that player count.
Yeah, 3 is a really odd number. I'm right there with you. 4 is usually the minimum. Or if it's like a duo co-op for a story, that's usually as low as you go. 3 is just a really weird number. Again, 4, maybe 5, maybe 6. But yeah, I agree with you. I think 3 is very odd, and I'm actually kind of curious to see how that's going to affect their numbers going forward for this game.
So you and I are both not the biggest Rainbow Six Siege fans. We've played some games. We've had some, at least I've played New Vegas back in the day. I love the Tom Clancy stuff, which, spoiler, we did not get a Tom Clancy announcement except for a Netflix show because, you know, we have Tom Clancy underwear, we have Netflix shows, we have mobile games. Not a mainline Tom Clancy title as of yet. We'll see if one comes later down the road, but this is about as close as we're going to get for now. You and I, not big Siege players. I've played a little bit here and there. You owned it as well. We've dabbled into Rainbow Six Siege, but I don't feel like we've really embraced it too much. But on top of that, we both like our... I'm not going to speak for you here. I personally like my zombie modes. I've loved it in Call of Duty when they've added it in. I like the idea of holding off waves or trying to traverse a landscape that might be zombie covered, or in some way there's different parasites out there and trying to survive while growing and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. It's kind of cool to me. So I'm intrigued by this game. But the 3-player thing is definitely a holdup, especially like with a community like ours, where we typically have quite a few people trying to play at once. I feel like 5's got to be the minimum for a lot of these games, or 4 at least as the minimum. I prefer 5. I'm excited, but yeah, reluctant. Anything else you want to say on Rainbow Six Siege over there, good sir, or Rainbow Six Extraction, rather?
I'll be completely honest. I'll probably end up playing this just to give it a shot. I think the Rainbow Six title is very good. I think that the story it tells, the gameplay is usually pretty good. I'm not going to let the 3-person number kind of like sway me. But I think that might be like the only bad thing, other than the fact that they like workshopped this name multiple times and came up with Extraction as your go-to. I think it's interesting, but I'll probably end up playing it for a little bit. I don't know if it's going to be a game that's going to be on my must play at least once a week list, let alone once a month list. But I am definitely interested in it.
So I have one other thing to say on this because I actually think where they got this idea from was Gears of War. If you guys remember when Gears 5 launched, one of the new modes was Hive Busters. I think the idea behind this game, instead of like Call of Duty Zombies, is more like that Hive Buster style mode where you're kind of trying to go in, you're trying to infiltrate something, and then from there trying to escape in a sense. So I actually think that's where they drew the inspirations from, and that does work quite well with 3 players. So depending on how these maps are built out, this could be an effective mode for the Rainbow Six franchise. Keeping with Ubisoft, but making our transition to another game that stood out. This was their One More Thing announcement. A few rumors came out before the showcase, but in the end, they did show it off. This game has been in the works for quite a while. And fun fact, this game, the development on this game, Disney being in meetings with Ubisoft, ended up being the reason that Ubisoft ended up getting a Star Wars license later down the road as well. A lot of the deep environment graphics. This is Avatar. I think it looks pretty good overall graphically. My biggest question with this game is going to be, what is the story? Because I'm not going to say the story concluded in the movie because there's 2 more movies to come, but it did wrap up at a nice point that I'm not sure where they're going to continue this game at.
Yeah, I mean, Avatar being a completely original idea that has never been told before in a movie. That is pure sarcasm, by the way. Avatar, like here, I'm going to go ahead and date myself here a little bit. Great movie called Fern Gully back in the day. Watched it as a kid. Same thing. A human going into a different species to help save the forest, falling in love, blah, 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 kind of thing. So yeah, it'd be kind of interesting where they go here. Now, that being said, I was a big fan of the movie. Massive fan of the movie. I watched it in theaters, I think 5 or 6 times. I thought it was absolutely beautiful. And if they're able to bring that same kind of beauty in game, which it looks like they are going to be able to do here, I feel like that's going to be a massive upsell. I feel like just the graphics alone, the kind of fantasy land they bring you into in this game is going to get people intrigued, is going to get people involved. And especially if you enjoyed the original movie, you're going to enjoy this game just from what I'm seeing here. There's a lot of ties in to what we saw in the movie, all the way down to these helicopters we're seeing on screen right now. I think it's absolutely fantastic. You add some customization in there for your own personal avatar in game. I think that's going to be absolutely great if that's an option in there. I think this game looks great. It's definitely something I'm going to play, mainly because of my connection to the original movie.
Yeah, I feel like it's really going to come down to the gameplay for me. Like, yeah, graphically 100% ready to dive in. I'm ready to walk through the forest of Pandora, to fly on these amazing creatures. I think it comes down to gameplay. Like, what is going to be the objective in this game? Are you trying to fend off a certain area? Are you trying to, I don't know, save animals in different areas of Pandora? I just really don't know what the story is going to be as of yet. So for me, that's the biggest thing here. Gameplay-wise, I think they should go the direction of like Horizon Zero Dawn. I think that would play very well here. Well, it's not like mechanical creatures. You still have like the pelican-looking planes involved here, as you guys just saw in the trailer. You have a number of other creatures where you could almost take some of those elements that we saw in Everwild as well from Rare. Overall, I feel like there's potential with the game. It's just a lot of these games that look very good, they also need to come through with story. And this one, to me, while the original story was great and they're doing more movies, apparently chat saying 4 more movies. I didn't realize that. I only thought there were 2 more. 2 of them have been filmed. I don't know what the status of the 4th one is. But overall, I feel like there's a lot of story, but like at a certain point, some of these sequels do continue to drag a little bit and they continue to get a little bit repetitive. And now you're throwing a game into the mix in addition to 4 other movies with a pretty solid, complete first movie. It just seems like a lot of content all coming at once. And I'm very curious how it's all going to weave together. Now, with Disney involved, Disney does a very good job of, in most cases, bringing all these different stories together and kind of braiding them into one big storyline. I'm curious how heavily they were involved with the story aspect of this one as well. Anything else on Avatar? It looks gorgeous. I'm excited for it. My biggest question mark is still gameplay. But if Disney's sitting back there and saying, hey, we're going to give you a Star Wars license based on what we're seeing here in Avatar, I feel like that at least inspires some confidence in me to want to check this one out.
I mean, Disney also continues to give EA Star Wars titles to work on. And aside from Fallen Order, they've been sus at the least. I don't know if we want to use that as the benchmark, but I'm right there with you. I think graphic-wise looks great. If the gameplay is good, if the mechanics of the game is good, if the story is good, then I think it'll be kind of one of those sneakier games coming up in 2022.
Excellent. And chat, just to say, since a number of you are here live with us tonight, if there's certain games you want us to cover in these showcases, feel free to bring them up. We can always pivot our notes here and there. The next one we do have is over in Devolver's showcase, and that is Death's Door. John, I really like the look of this game. I think Devolver, one, brings a lot of uniqueness to their presentations. They stand out. They're not the typical on stage, the CEO or the executive or the president or whoever comes out and speaks. They're very much it's almost like a play on themselves, and they take a lot of memes into account. They take a lot of goofy plays into it, and it works out very well for them, unlike what we can say for the PC gaming show. This game in particular really stands out to me. I think graphically it brings some nice elements. As far as gameplay, it seems like there's a number of different repetitions that can be brought into play. I really like the idea of it, and I really like the look of it. I think this is one of my favorite indie games at the showcase this year.
Yeah, I think it looks great. The style of game, the graphics, it has an indie game feel, but it has that polished feel as well. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I think this game looks fantastic. I enjoy everything about Death's Door from what I've seen so far. I'm definitely going to be playing it myself. Yeah, I mean, I don't have any complaints. This is actually one of the ones I was really excited to see. So I'm pretty hyped going into this one.
And just to give you guys a little bit of an idea of what this is, so Death's Door, based on its Wikipedia description here, reaping souls of the dead and punching a clock might get monotonous, but it's honest work for a crow. The job gets lively when your assigned soul is stolen, and you must track down a desperate thief to a realm untouched by death where creatures grow past their expiry. So that's kind of what you're seeing here, some different boss creatures. There's different puzzle elements built in as well. And it looks like some kind of collection, like maybe you're collecting more than that one soul you're chasing after, or maybe these just become keys to unlock ways to that soul in the end. Overall, this is definitely one of those top indie games to keep an eye out for.
July 20th. Super excited for this one.
Yeah, should be a really cool game. So definitely one to keep an eye on. With that, we're going to slide over to arguably the best showcase from this year's E3. Not just because I'm slightly biased here, but that is the Xbox Bethesda showcase. A number of big titles coming out here. So Ubisoft, you had Rainbow Six Extraction, you had Avatar. Devolver, you had a number of really cool indies, Death's Door being one of those top ones. Over in this showcase, you had a few AAAs come out, and that is Starfield kicking things off. Todd Howard came out on stage, gave a little bit of an intro to Starfield, as well as talking about the relationship between Xbox and Bethesda now. And then we saw the first trailer of Starfield, a logo hyped so many people up just a little while ago. And now here we are getting our first look at it, again, from the creators of stuff like Fallout and the Elder Scrolls. This is your introduction here to Starfield.
Yeah, so this is the way you build hype. You give a little bit, you make the announcement, you give the logo. A lot of people speculate what it's going to be. And then you show this trailer. Joey, it's not often I get goosebumps watching a gaming trailer. This one just really did it for me. It's everything I wanted to see. I think it did a fantastic job at least giving us a little information on what this game is going to be about. Obviously, space-based. We're seeing some really cool things inside of a ship. We got to see the outside of a ship. We got to see the ship on a planet. We're getting to see these graphics. Now, are these in-game graphics? Are these CGI? Is it made by the same engine? Yeah, they're all alpha graphics right now. For alpha, looks fantastic. Everything about this game just looks absolutely amazing. Honestly, if you're watching here with us on Twitch, I apologize because this is not showing this preview in 4K. It is not. Do yourself a favor. If you have a 4K TV, if you have yourself a 4K monitor, go back and rewatch the 4K version of this trailer. It's fantastic when it's not the 4K. It's even more mind-blowing when it is the 4K version. And that goes with a lot of the games that we saw in the Xbox Bethesda presentation. Just can't say enough. November 11th of 2022 can't come fast enough. I am absolutely in love with this game, and I still don't know entirely what this game is about.
Yeah, I mean, that's still one of those question marks. We've heard all different comparisons. Some people saying it's like Fallout in space. We've had other comparisons come out where it's like almost like a Han Solo style story where you kind of just have your own aircraft and you can do whatever you want. Now, what that means, are you harvesting minerals, something like a No Man's Sky? Are we looking at just plain out exploration? Is there any kind of combat? There's still a lot of different question marks out there, as well as just the level of controls. Like, what are we going to be able to control? Do we have full capabilities of, I don't know, changing up parts of our starship? Do we have the ability to completely repaint it? What did our armor customization look like? Or I guess astronaut suit in this case. There's just a lot of different little things that a lot of people still have question marks are. And this game is still a while away. We're looking at holiday 2022 at the earliest. And again, with COVID still being a thing and a lot of things still seeing the overall push of delays because of it, we never know if this will actually come out then. I do think it will end up making it out by that holiday. It seems like they're pretty well on track at this point. But overall, yeah, just a lot of question marks still out there. What does the flora and fauna look like? How many planets are available to be traveled to? I'm hopeful for the game. I think you look at something new from Bethesda. You haven't had anything new since Elder Scrolls and Fallout. This is kind of their first dive into something new. And they're going to take elements of both of those and kind of combine them together in a new space-like environment here. On top of that, they are using a new version of the Creation Engine. So this is Creation 2 where it's being built in. So that's going to allow a few more capabilities as well. You have nice animations. Everything looks really good. And as John said, this is not even the 4K version of the trailer, and it's still alpha footage. So give Todd Howard time, give Bethesda time. I have very, very, very high hopes for this game. Anything else you want to touch on for Starfield? I know we're both excited. There's just not too much out there that we can talk on, and we could break down that trailer for hours, but that'll only get us so far as well.
You know, it's so weird to have so much hype around this trailer when it literally doesn't tell us anything. It gives us like the bare bones of what this game is kind of about. We don't know more. We don't know anything else. Like right now, a lot of the speculations are coming from tidbits, like Joey was saying, from articles here and there, from interviews with people from the Bethesda studios, kind of dropping hints here and there. But there is no solid, concrete answer to what this game is going to be about. Obviously, they still have well over a year, almost a year and a half to continue to work on this and ship a finalized product. I hope, I really do hope it's not a Cyberpunk release, which by the way, speaking of Cyberpunk, guess what, PlayStation fans, it's coming back June 21st to the PlayStation Store for you to download digitally. So there you go. After 4 patches that were 5 times the size of the game, fixed the dang game for you. It'll be available. It's a little exaggerated there, but yeah, it'll be back on the 21st. But I feel like for a trailer that doesn't give a lot of information, the hype around it is genuine. Genuine. There we go.
Genuine.
Is completely genuine, and like I think the hype around it it's there for a reason. You know, kudos to the PR and marketing teams to hype it up as much. I mean, again, we're talking about this trailer that just looks gorgeous, but we don't know anything else. So obviously it worked. We're both excited for it. And yeah, if this is not a good plug to follow this show, because you know for a fact Joey and I are going to be covering Starfield as more information comes out, you need to be following the show if you're not doing so already, because we're going to keep you updated every minute of the way, all the way to release day on November 11th of 2022. So there's your quick little plug.
Wow, every minute. Are you going to be tweeting that out?
That and some NBA 2K League stuff, yeah.
Hey, there we go. So yeah, Starfield looks good, guys. You're definitely going to get a lot more next year. Todd Howard doesn't like to really give too much, and this is Bethesda in general, doesn't like to give too much away before they end up getting close to a release. So I would say E3 2022, you're probably going to get a nice deep dive into Starfield. I would even say probably 10 to 15 minutes at least in that E3 briefing back then. So we'll see what that ends up looking like as we get closer to that release, as well as maybe a couple updates, maybe monthly vlogs, something like that, like Microsoft likes to do, depending on what that culture ends up looking like between the two as we get closer to holiday 2022. That brings us over to another big AAA title in the Microsoft arsenal, and that is Halo. Halo Infinite got shown last year as about a 10-minute clip at the 2020 showcase back in July. It ended up taking some mixed praise. Some Halo veterans loved it. Others were criticizing the graphics. Some of the graphics looked, as they've been described, Lego-y. You obviously have Craig the Brute going around, not looking too great as well. You had stuff like the skyboxes popping in. Some of the structures didn't look all that great. Now we've seen it polished, and we've seen that in a video form. We've been getting monthly blogs where we see screenshots here and there, but now finally getting to see it in a video form as an overview of the campaign area, and then diving into what is going to be the new big team battle in Halo. I believe it's going to be 12v12, I think is what they ended up with, or 16v16. I don't remember what I said. There should be a bigger one coming, but I don't know if that got scrapped or if that's still in the works. But for now, it's going to be somewhere in the teens versus teens for Halo. I think it looks great. I think it looks chaotic. One of the things that Halo has always brought to the table is some of the bigger style maps that you see almost in like a battlefield, as well as those really close-knit, intimate maps that you have in stuff like Halo 3, like Guardian. So I'm curious to see what they do with Infinite and how it all comes together. But from what we saw, looking at the campaign part now, I thought this was a very nice looking Chief. It was like very gritty compared to what we saw in the 2020 version. On top of that, I like the introduction of the new AI that's not necessarily replacing Cortana, but going to play a very significant role in the story.
Yeah, and like I was saying on our co-stream for this event on our wrap-up show, Halo, so as someone who is newer to the Xbox ecosystem, having pretty much been primarily PlayStation for the better part of 2 decades, Halo was the title that most PlayStation fans and Sony fanboys, whether they want to admit it or not, was the one title they were always kind of jealous of when it came to Xbox, because Halo was just such a great game. The story was great. The single player campaign was great. The multiplayer was great. So yeah, I mean, this was obviously something I was definitely looking forward to as a newer player in the Xbox ecosystem, being able to play Halo. I think it looks absolutely great. This is another one of those trailers that you need to be watching in 4K. This stream right now will not do it justice. Pull it up on YouTube, the 4K version. Watch it on your 4K monitor or TV. It's absolutely beautiful. Everything about it looks great. The multiplayer looks fantastic. I like that they kind of gave a little more information on that grapple hook that was so controversial for a lot of players. So, they gave a little more information, and I'm sorry, the graphics look amazing. The graphics look absolutely fantastic. I think the people that were like overly critical of the announcement footage, it's the first announcement for a reason. There's a reason why at the little bottom it says gameplay footage, not final. It's because they're still working on it. And now we see this updated trailer, this extended trailer, if you will, with more gameplay action in it. The graphics are better. The graphics are amazing. This game looks fantastic, and I think everyone in the Xbox ecosystem should be incredibly happy with what they saw here in the Xbox Bethesda showcase here at E3.
And again, a couple other things. They did confirm once again that the multiplayer will be free to play. So if you're on Game Pass, you get access to the campaign and everything else. If you're not on Game Pass, that's fine, regardless of where you play, as long as it's an Xbox console, PC, or some kind of mobile device. That can be an older PC through the games browser for xCloud. That can be a phone. That can be a tablet. Really, any of those portable systems available there. After this campaign trailer, they did show a little bit of the multiplayer, and we dove a bit into that. But since then, they released another video about the multiplayer, which is phenomenal, and you guys 100% should go watch it. They dive into a lot of interesting details that were not shown in the showcase. Some of the stuff just to highlight, the customization of armor is going to be very high. You're going to be able to change like something around 10 to 12 different pieces of armor, all the way from like your kneecap blade to your elbow blade, and every little piece it feels like is movable. The one question mark is still the paint system. Previously, they ran by a primary and secondary color paint system. Now it's going to be, I don't remember the exact name of it, but it's going to be some kind of polish system. So I don't know what that translates to, if it's going to end up being a level of like customization like we saw in Anthem with those suits, or if it's going to be limited of like, hey, you select this is the exact color of what your suit's going to look like just with the armor you selected. So still some question marks in that area. A couple other things, and this one I know is going to be a big attention grabber for you, John, is the Battle Pass. They announced that the Battle Pass, if you purchase it, it is never going to expire. So if you purchase Battle Pass 1 and then you're super busy for a couple months, or maybe you go out of town for a couple weeks and you're like, I can't finish this Battle Pass in time. With every other game, you're screwed. It's just the end. Whatever you got is what you got. Now with Halo, they're saying they are not going to expire the Battle Pass. So if you're super busy for a month and you don't have time to finish Battle Pass number 2, you can just continue on even if people are on to Battle Pass number 3. You can choose which Battle Pass you want to grind, how far you want to grind it. I think that is a huge quality of life change.
Yeah, it's absolutely great. I feel like that's actually the way to go. It's player friendly. It doesn't punish you for having a life. Oh my gosh, Joey, gamers have a life? Yeah. I think that's great. I absolutely love it. You and I are both incredibly busy. There's like spurts where it feels like we don't even get to see family members or friends for like weeks on end. And then there's times where we have nothing in our schedule and we can just game out. Yeah, I think this is great. I think this is so incredibly smart from Xbox and Halo for putting a continuous battle pass in there that does not expire. It's great.
Yeah, it just seems like a big win, and it fits into that Game Pass mentality a lot too. Like with Game Pass, they want you to try new games. They want you to look into new experiences. Maybe it's a genre you wouldn't play before, or maybe it's a developer you've never heard of. Maybe it's just that new indie game that has some really cool art style to it. They want to encourage you to play those other games, to try these different things. And something like a Battle Pass that's very strict doesn't really encourage that. It says, hey, play only this game to be able to unlock all the content available in this Battle Pass. A model like this says, hey, if you have a life, live your life as well, but come back to Halo when you want to. Or go check out that new game on Game Pass. You're fine. You'll be able to pick right up where you are, wherever you left off with in this Battle Pass. I think it's just very user-friendly. I really hope it's a model that the industry adapts a little bit more, because right now, like stuff like I bought the Valorant Battle Pass. I'll never buy a Valorant Battle Pass ever again. There's no way I got even close to through that first Battle Pass when it released. And it's just super discouraging as far as these Battle Passes. Like, if you don't have the time to just grind one game, it is so hard to get to the final tier for a lot of these Battle Passes. So it becomes a select one or select two, depending on what your time looks like, if even selecting any at all. This one says, hey, if you want to buy it, you can take 10 years to finish it if you want to. You have all the time in the world. And I think that is a big win for players.
Huge win.
The last thing just to hit on with Halo, John, and this is just because it made me laugh, you do have the ability to customize your own AI on board your suit as well. So you get the classic Halo announcer that's out there like triple kill, quadra kill, all that good stuff is great. But you also get this own personal AI to kind of instruct you along the battlefield. Some of the stuff we're seeing on Twitter is people asking for like Alfred from the Batman series, or having people like James Earl Jones do voiceovers, or having some of these other people do voiceovers like Gordon Ramsay is another one. And I think it's just very interesting to see what the community will end up doing in that space, especially if modding does become available as well.
I mean, can you imagine missing a shot and having Gordon Ramsay scream in your ear, "What are you? What are you? I'm an idiot sandwich." Yes, yeah, I mean, and having him just insult you the entire time, like when you just miss your shot or miss grenades, or you're like on a 5 death streak without a kill, just going like, "Why are you even playing the game? Just go ahead and uninstall." Kind of. I mean, I would love toxic Gordon Ramsay as an AI voice in this game.
Oh, it'd be funny. And we've seen collaborations like that before. I mean, like Gears of War recently did one with Dave Bautista. We've seen a couple other ones like Far Cry with Giancarlo over there. So who knows? It could be one of those things we do see later down the road as some kind of DLC pack. Maybe it's even earnable in one of these battle passes that never expire. Definitely something to look out for. But yeah, Halo looking very good. Definitely one to look forward to. They didn't give us a beta date, but I would think it's going to be around August or September. Now shooting for that holiday 2021 release. Next up on our list is arguably the best looking game at E3, and that is Forza Horizon 5 rather, coming in as the newest game in the franchise. It's going to take place in Mexico. John, there are a few shots. There's one in particular by a river that I literally thought it was a photograph of Mexico, and then you see the cars drive up on your screen. This game looks insane. This is going to be the same engine that Fable is going to be built into as well. It's like Fable's using an adapted version of this engine. It looks phenomenal. I think this game looks crazy good. I did dive into Forza Horizon 4 for a little bit. It was an enjoyable experience. I like the online aspect. I like that it's not just standard wraparound tracks like a NASCAR game. It's a lot more interesting, similar to like F1, but even more some of that off-roading involved too. This game's going to bring like Gulf coasts. It's going to bring cities and villas. It's going to bring deserts. There's so many different environments in Mexico for the game to dive into, and I'm actually really stoked for this one.
So I keep saying it about going to watch these trailers in 4K. If you have to pick one to watch in 4K, if you only have 5 minutes to spare and you're never going to come back to E3 2021 again to watch anything else in 4K, this is the one to watch in 4K. The graphics in this game, you know, story time, sent the 4K version to my parents, okay? My parents who, like, my dad played video games with me growing up. We're talking like N64 graphics. We're talking like PlayStation 1 graphics. Not the best graphics in the world. I remember when the PlayStation 2 came out, my mom was like, "Oh, it looks so realistic." And then I sent her the link to this YouTube video in 4K and had her watch it on her 4K television. It's insane. Like, they were so blown away by this game. These graphics are incredible. They're absolutely incredible. We are literally living in the future of video games being so freaking realistic, like you're almost there. And I mean, we've been locked up in this pandemic for the past 15, 16 months. Traveling has not been an option, and video games and even freaking Google Maps, if you will, have allowed us to kind of explore the world when we haven't been able to do so. And watching this game makes you feel like you're right there. Just how realistic the graphics are. They go in and they talk about how, you know, they're real images that are kind of built into the engine. So like if you go to this location on Earth, it's going to look like 99% identical to what you're going to see in game. It's incredible. I'm not a big racing fan, racing game fan. I played Gran Turismo on PlayStation, which is a PlayStation exclusive there. Obviously can't play that now that I'm in the Xbox ecosystem. Forza is going to take its place. This game looks absolutely fantastic. I'm picking it up. I have nothing but amazing things to say about this trailer.
Yeah, Forza looks phenomenal. And I'm with you, John. I am not a big racing game guy either. I played a little bit of Forza back in, I believe it was like the winter time, and it was quite fun. I really enjoyed what I got to play of it. But overall, this game just graphically, even if I'm not going to commit myself fully to collecting a bunch of cars and completing a bunch of races, just to go around and just enjoy the environment, whether it be with myself or just with other people as well, I think it just looks phenomenal just to drive through.
Yeah, I just can't stop watching this trailer.
It's gorgeous. Everything looks so good. And this is still early footage, guys. Like, I mean, it's later in development because this is a game that is coming out here pretty soon. I believe it's a November release, if I remember correctly. But overall, it's still earlier footage because a lot of this getting captured earlier on. I don't remember when Forces was. I think it was like April or May, if I remember correctly. So not super, super long ago, but they are still doing some of that polishing. So it'll look even better when it eventually releases. The last game to hit on in the Xbox Bethesda showcase for us on the show today is going to be Redfall. This was one that really didn't surprise John and I too much. We weren't super excited for it. This was the one more thing for Xbox, and a lot of people were like, this didn't feel like the greatest one more thing. Well, guys, I will tell you that was originally planned to be Elden Ring. That's where they're going to stick that into their showcase. They were going to have Starfield, Halo, and Elden Ring all in one showcase, which would have probably been one of the best showcases ever at an E3. At the same point, this one's still ending up with a pretty high rating for most people. The average rating right around an A. This one being Redfall, though, coming out, not the most exciting of games. The studio it comes from, though, is very well renowned, a huge award-winning studio. This is the same studio behind Dishonored, the same studio behind Prey. This is Arcane Austin from the Bethesda side. Overall, they've come out with some of the most breathtaking titles, as well as the ability to just really immerse the player into an environment. Prey, in particular, if you've not played it, is phenomenal. It's crazy to me, like that game. The beginning is very trippy, and I am not going to lie, I got lost in the beginning for quite a while, but that's just how immersed it was. It was just such a crazy game to dive into. This one, it feels a little bit Fortnite-y when it comes to the graphics. It almost has some of that same Fortnite Save the World style, and I think John, Drew, and I talked about this on the co-stream. It doesn't feel like it brings a ton of uniqueness to the table, minus the vampire aspect. But even then, that's something that's still done quite a bit in movies and video games. So they haven't really wowed me with the CGI trailer here. I'm curious to see what gameplay looks like. A lot of people very down on this game after seeing it, especially with it being kind of that one more thing of a big showcase. At the same point, I've heard from a lot of people who have actually seen in-game footage or been able to be hands-on with it, that this is one not to lay off on, to continue to keep an eye out for, because this game should end up impressing quite a few people when it does eventually launch.
Yeah, and I'm going to be completely honest. If Elden Ring was going to be your one more thing for this announcement, and obviously you didn't get it, you need to rearrange the show. Yes, I get it's pre-recorded, but I would go back and re-record at least the segment leading into whatever segment you would put at the end. I feel like you could put Starfield at the end. granted, that was a great show opener. I think you could put Halo at the end. I think you could even put Forza at the end. All three of those were absolutely fantastic that I feel like they could have been that one more thing. I just feel like this was very underwhelming. And you know, I get it. You know, I'm going to kind of give them the pass here because it you know, obviously, you know, their original game for one more thing being Elden Ring was put in the Summer Game Fest. I just feel like if there was one flaw in this showcase, it's this. It's the ending. It's the one more thing. I just feel like this was not. It was not it. It, you know, again, not sleeping on the game, but it's not a game that hyped me up as much as Forza, as much as Halo, as much as Starfield. I feel like any one of those would have been better.
I also feel like it's just very long. Like, one, you're ending on a CGI trailer, which worked really well for Fable last year, but this one's like, it feels like 7 to 10 minutes long. Like, it is a very long CGI trailer, and it didn't really have like a great ending or like a climax to it in a sense. So yeah, you see some cool abilities, you see some cool enemies, you see some great weapons and animations here and there, even with it having kind of that Fortnite style. Now, you and I are not big Fortnite fans, but obviously Fortnite is absolutely popping off throughout the world. A lot of people are fans of that gameplay style, and it's beyond just the battle royale as well. Like, some of it being graphically, you see it with Call of Duty in the battle royale aspect, but you also see it in Fortnite just given the graphics in and of themselves. So overall, I'm excited for it, but a little bit reluctant of the show placement as well. I feel like had this been somewhere toward the middle, it would have been fine. Whether you end with Starfield or Halo, like Jon suggested, I think would have been fine as well. Even Forza, like he said too. At the same point, I think they know this game is going to be bigger than it looks based on the CGI trailer. They've been able to see that in-game footage that a lot of these journalists have talked about as well. So it's going to be a lot bigger game than it looks right now. And I think that's kind of what drew them to end up with this in the showcase. Unfortunately, that just didn't translate over to the full audience.
Yeah. Again, it doesn't look bad. Like, from what we saw, I thought it looked good. I'm right there with you. I thought it was a little too long, but it just didn't have that hype.
Chat would like to point out that the fridge was actually the one more thing for the showcase.
That's fair.
That is right. They did show the Xbox mini fridge after that trailer of Redfall. That did come out. The meme became a reality over there at Xbox, as it seems to have been a big viral marketing campaign all year long, but just continuing on with the mini fridge coming out soon.
Hold on a second. Here we go. I found it at the end. The mini fridge. We have to put this on air. It is absolutely fantastic. I have to know how much this is. I'm putting my price point around $200 for this mini fridge. It looks like it will hold a 6-pack, and that's about it. That just, and I love it.
Oh,
yes,
you can fit more. That's 8, 9, 10. I think it's 10. 10 cans.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, maybe 10. Maybe a couple in the door. Maybe 12 in total. Maybe that can fit a 12-pack, which I think would be like the best option. A 12-pack mini fridge, sold. But I'm thinking it's gonna be about $200, and I think I'm gonna be buying it. As much as I hate to say it.
I'm tempted to. I'm very curious to see what it ends up looking like, but I feel like that's right around a normal fridge price point for a mini fridge, somewhere in that like 150 to 250 frame. You give the branding on top of that. So yeah, probably about 200 is where that price point ends up landing. We'll see what it ends up looking like in the end, though, and maybe they do some discounts. They give a lot of game discounts regularly. Maybe we get fridge discounts as well. We'll keep an eye out for that one. But that is going to wrap up our Xbox Bethesda showcase as we head on over into Sunday evening at this point with Square Enix. Their showcase honestly wasn't that exciting in my humble opinion. There weren't really a ton of different things that stood out, but they did reveal their new Marvel game, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy. So we will touch on that one a little bit. Overall, Square Enix did not have the greatest debut in the Marvel franchise with Marvel Avengers last year. It ended up being a flop at launch. They lost a lot of money on that game. It's done a little bit better since then, but still very lacking in terms of player base and in terms of acclaim as well. Now you have Guardians of the Galaxy, though. One of the biggest things people are saying is the design choices going on in this game. They ended up going with kind of that comic book style as opposed to going with the actors and actresses we saw in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. That, to me, I personally would have preferred the movie models. A lot of people like the comic models as well, though. So it almost splits up the audience just from the beginning there based on movie versus comic book. Overall, I think some of the environments looked very interesting, but it really wasn't a game that wowed me as much as I wanted it to.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people went into this hoping for like a Square Enix like redemption arc, if you will, when it comes to Marvel based games. There's moments where I thought this trailer was good. There are moments where I thought this trailer was absolutely horrific. And I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I'm on the side that I wish the characters were based upon the movie actors, because that is what's going to bring in the most gamers. That's what's going to bring in the most casual gamer to your game is being able to identify these characters with what they saw on the movie screen. Like, yeah, I mean, the comic book nerd, the gamer nerd that is like all in depth with like pop culture, comic news, and gaming news and all that stuff, they're not going to care. And they're going to buy this game regardless. I feel like you're trying to bet on that average gamer that likes Marvel but doesn't love Marvel, that might be looking at trying to get into a comic based video game, but they're hesitant, especially after what they've read about Avengers. I mean, I feel like I'm split on this. Like, I feel like out of 100, this is like right now hype level 50. I again, there's positives here, but just not enough in comparison to what else we've seen throughout the entirety of E3. This was just not, it just didn't do it for me.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I mean, I think it looks good. Again, the environments in particular, I think look pretty good in the game. But for me, it's that connection, like the connection with the characters. When I think of a lot of these characters, my first relation is to the movie actors and actresses that portray them. I was not a Guardians of the Galaxy comic first type of person. So my first introduction being those movies, I'm connected more to those particular characters. Now, with that being said, there is a number of hardcore fans out there who did read the original comics, whose first introduction was the comics, and I'm sure they're very elated as far as this goes. But at the same point, your casual audience, I think, probably typically are more like me in the sense that the movies were their first introduction to the Guardians of the Galaxy. That's who they really connected with, the characters, those actors, those actresses, and even the voices as well. I think some of these voices being different. I'm curious how that's all going to relate when it comes to the game sales. Sadly, I do think this ends up like the Avengers. I think it'll do well. I think it'll do better than the Avengers, but I don't know if this is going to be a successful game selling wise.
Yeah, so, and I'll be completely honest here, I'm biased as anything. Dave Bautista played Drax in the movies, and this is not Dave Bautista's Drax, and that kind of bothers me. I think he was absolutely fantastic in the movies. I think he played the character incredibly well. Star-Lord, I mean, look, I get it. Chris Pratt is a little controversial, but this dude, I mean, that's not Star-Lord. Like, I'm sorry, it's not. Like, okay, you have Groot and everything else, but like, they're CGI to begin with. Like, if you screwed Groot up, then you're just really bad. I'm right there with you, Joey. Like, I just feel like that connection is lost. And that's going to hurt this game quite a bit, because when you look at this, it's just kind of like, oh, like it's not even close.
Well, and also keep in mind, like even with the Chris Pratt stuff, like the controversial things coming out around him in politics, a lot of that ended up happening way after this game started development. So this was the original choice even before all of that. This game, I think, has been in development for 4 or 5 years at this point. So this was the original direction to go with the comic books. That's what was approved. That's what ended up happening. I don't remember when the Marvel sale. Disney would have acquired Marvel at that point, right? They've had them for more than 5 years. Yeah, they've had them for way more than 5 years.
They've had to.
Yeah. So they were probably in here, I would assume. I don't know how long pre-production on this particular game took, but as far as the design, yeah, about 4 or 5 years for the overall thing. So a lot of these decisions made very early on. This is the direction they ended up going. The environments, again, I think look pretty good overall. It is getting ported to the Nintendo Switch as well. That is not going to be a native Switch port. It will be available on the Switch via the cloud. So similar to what you see, I believe Remedy's Control does that same system on Switch, because the hardware itself can't quite run it, but it is still available to some of those players through that cloud. So overall, again, I think there's some positives to take away in the environmental design and some of the music we heard. I mean, not that the voiceovers are bad either. It doesn't quite connect to what some of us are looking for. I think that's going to be the biggest question mark for the audience in terms of sales. But overall, it is a game definitely to keep an eye on and continue to track. Anything else on Guardians of the Galaxy or Square Enix?
No, not really. I'm actually trying to queue up this next video because it's going to be a whole whopping 3 seconds long. So I'm
Yeah, this next
sure
one
we don't
is
do it wrong.
interesting, guys. So next we're going to hop over to the PC gaming show. This one happened Sunday evening. This is Valve's announcement, the big announcement from Valve that some people rumored as the Steam Pal console, that some people rumored could be the possibility of some deal with Game Pass and Xbox, whether that be Steam on Xbox consoles or Game Pass available via Steam. We've heard a number of other things. Those were those top 3 rumors potentially of what this announcement could be. And John, please cue the announcement. Let's hear from Gabe Newell himself.
Okay, I'm gonna have to time this, so I'm actually gonna remove the cover on the screen and press play because it's gonna be that quick. All right, so here you go. It's frozen. My guy's got his hands up. He's like, okay, I don't know what's coming up next. And then it's super quick. I had to start it early because if I didn't, then you'd miss it. Do not blink for the next 10 seconds. Otherwise, you're gonna miss Steam's massive announcement. Oh yeah, there's Gabe. Here you go. No volume, by the way, Joey. So you
can throw the volume on if you want to. I don't know if it's available.
Yeah, we can do it. Let me go ahead and I'll run that back here a little bit. We'll get the little.
And this announcement's 100% worth it for sure.
Dave is and will be fine, and if he's not, who cares? Because we have a special message from Gabe Newell. Take it away, Gabe.
Hi, this is Gabe Newell. I want to thank PC Gamer for all of the opportunities it gives us as developers to connect with gamers around the world and highlight the new and exciting projects we have coming. One of those for us is Steam Next Fest, an event we're hosting in just a few days to give players a chance to try demos of upcoming games for free. We'll be featuring some of the demos you'll be seeing during this week's PC Gamer event and dozens more. Here's a look at just some of the titles to be featured during Steam Next Fest.
Welcome to Steam Next Fest, where we're showing a massive collection of upcoming titles on Steam. During the week of the festival, developers from around the world released their demos
That was
for you
the
to
big
play.
Steam announcement. They came on the air as a big thing, interrupting the showcase in their script to come on and tell us about Steam Next Fest. Steam Next Fest was already announced prior to E3. So guys, the big announcement from Steam and Valve was something that was already announced. I am pissed. This is one of those things that I think they hyped up a little too much. They've talked about this announcement for weeks, whether it be journalists at different publications, whether it be Gabe Newell himself when he spoke a few times, talking about upcoming console news, and then he announces this thing happening at E3. And that's what we got, guys. A good 10, 15-second clip, if even, of Gabe telling us about something that was already announced. That's your big Valve announcement at this year's E3.
I do have to ask, though, Joey, what was more disappointing? Valve's announcement or the cringe that was the PC gaming show?
That was hella cringe. I feel
really
like
bad.
they thought they wanted to be like Devolver Digital and they wanted to take up that different style and be unique. And it just fell super flat. I also, Ellie in chat talking about Gabe Newell looking like Santa, I think is amazing as well.
Oh my, he kind of does. He kind of looks like gaming Santa. The other thing that was bothering me is you could actively see his eyes reading the script and you can see his script on his glasses. He was like, hello, today Steam is happy to announce free demos coming up for upcoming games on Steam. Hooray! Dude, come on. You gotta put a little life into that read. Come on.
Yeah, it's cringe. And I think he goes on a little bit longer just to talk a little bit more about it for another couple seconds. And he actually, in the end, does end up showing the script and kind of folding it over as he finishes. It's cringe. That whole show was very cringe. There were some good games announced here and there, but overall, I think they missed the mark of what people are hoping to expect from that PC gaming show. It's been one of those shows that kind of gets brushed under the rug year over year. And again, while there's good games that come out, it just doesn't quite hit the mark when it comes to the actual presentation.
Joey, I have to ask, was this the worst presentation of E3?
Oh, that's a tough one. If we just take this announcement in and of itself, yes, I think the announcement of something that was already announced and hyping it up was probably not the way to go. But there were definitely some cringe showcases out there. There are quite a few where it's going to be the next big thing in gaming or the next coolest game, or we have all these secret announcements, and then you end up kind of flopping. I feel like outside of Xbox, Nintendo, and Devolver Digital, a lot of the other showcases, I'm not going to say fell completely flat, but they definitely left a lot of room for new things to be desired in a sense. Okay, that's enough, Valve. If you guys want to get the next late-breaking thing about Half-Life 3 coming out, I'm sure Gabe Newell will pop up somewhere else later down the road. For now, we're going to slide into Nintendo. That showcase did happen today. And again, guys, at the end, we can talk a little bit about any other games that stood out to you if there are different things that pop out. But we're going to slide into Nintendo. This one happened today. A lot of big announcements coming out in this one. Kicking things off, John, there was a lot of nostalgia that got hit. The first trailer we saw was Super Monkey Ball Banana Mania. I don't know if you ended up playing one of these Super Monkey Ball games. I think I owned one. I want to say it was for GameCube. And it's just one of those fun, like, party games. You get a few people together. You plug in your different controllers into the port. Nowadays, it's probably a lot easier to do. But in the end, just getting little parties together, playing these goofy little monkey games. I thought it was fun back then. And I kind of hit a little bit of the nostalgia here, seeing the monkey rolling around in the ball once again.
Joey, I have to just stop real quick. Ellie in chat said, I thought my pencil was a cicada and needed Game Santa to come help me. And that just absolutely broke me. That was hilarious. But yeah, so I've never played any of these titles before. I've never played Monkey Ball. It kind of reminds me of that bonus level in the OG Sonic on Sega Genesis, where you're in that ball and you had to roll around and collect all the rings and everything without like doubling back or anything. But yeah, I think it looks great. It's one of those happy-go-lucky games. One of those things. It's one of those games that should not tilt you when you play it.
Oh, it'll tilt you.
So
you'll go bananas playing Super Monkey Ball. I just remember there are certain times, like if I remember correctly, there were like time trials. So even playing solo, there were certain moments where you're trying to beat a time on a certain course and you'd fall just shy. Like maybe you take a turn a little bit too slow or a little bit too fast and roll off, or you end up with like the co-op or the multiplayer and you just kind of are knocking into each other's balls as you race around. It's an interesting game. It makes for a very fun party game. I'm glad to see it back, as am I for some of these other games. The next one that came up was Mario Party Superstars. This is going to be your next new Mario Party game, and they're diving a little bit back as an N64 tribute for this one. I believe it's going to bring like all 5 of the original N64 maps from that Super Mario game. You get the fun space map coming in. You get the original characters as well. I'm sure they'll mix some things up here and there. But overall, again, hitting that nostalgia in a very popular game. The current Mario Party game selling very well as well on Switch. Now you have the ability to dive back in, grab some of those classic maps for new players, find some of those old mini games, which is like over 100-something mini games in that game. Again, Mario always sells very well. Party games on the Switch sell very well. This is the perfect combination.
Yeah, I freaking love this one. I think it's great. Mario Party is a fantastic title. I remember when it came out on the N64, it was a game that my friends and I would constantly play every single day. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love that it's continuing. This was probably the one that hit home the most for me during the presentation today.
There you go. Collect those stars, finish the board, win the game. Mario Party Superstars, that N64 tribute coming out later. Next up on the list of nostalgia is WarioWare. John, I freaking loved this game. It's one of those like off-kilter games that comes out on Nintendo. It was previously on the DS, or at least that's where I played it at. They involve the microphone, whether you're talking into it, blowing into it. There was obviously the stylus involved and the touchscreen. There's so many different fun aspects of kind of like Wario running this corporation. And there's so many like goofy things. Like I remember one of the old games was like you're picking hairs out of a nose. And there's other things like you're cleaning off like a cardboard thing. It's like just goofy stuff. Like here you have him squeezing toothpaste. He's peeling off face masks. It's just very weird, cringy type of stuff because it's like Wario. It's an interesting take on it. It's kind of the opposite of Mario, but again, similar to a lot of these games, it makes for a great party game, and I think that, again, just makes it a great title on the Switch.
There you go. It's confirmed. Joy enjoys picking virtual nose hairs.
I mean, it's just such, like, cringy stuff, but it's, like, so fun to see, like, how quickly you can do it. Don't you laugh at me over there.
I'm laughing at you, sir.
There's now co-op in this game, so you better be ready. We're going to go pick nose hairs together. Whoever can pick them the fastest.
Oh, there you go. Tweezing armpit hair. Right? There's one for you. There's
yeah, see? Look. Throwback right there as well. Gotta love it.
Lovely. September 10th. Get it done.
WarioWare, get it together September 10th. That brings us to Advance Wars. I don't know if this one ever got played by you, sir. I think I played this one on Game Boy Advance back in the day. It's just a fun take on kind of that same Fire Emblem style. You see it in Fire Emblem Heroes, which is a super popular mobile game out there right now. You lay characters out on the board, you run them through in different not artistic, but militaristic strategies, trying to find ways to cover up the map, take out your opponents, capture their buildings. I believe it's like headquarters, if I remember correctly, in this one. You see a nice capture going on there on screen. Some nice battles as well, kind of that Risk style where you come in with a certain number of units, then you play up against a different amount of units. In the end, there's different counters that come into play. I'm a big fan of Advance Wars. I thought it was a great original game. Now you have the ability to see it with Advance Wars 1 and 2 being remastered here. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp is the official title. But again, John, this is another Nintendo game I think will do well. It doesn't fit as much into that party genre, but Nintendo strategic type of games do quite well on Switch as well.
Oh, for sure. I feel like this game is definitely going to excel on Switch. I honestly, I've never played the title before, so I don't have any firsthand knowledge of it. But yeah, it's popular for a reason, and it's a reboot. It's Reboot Camp for a reason. Oh, let me put the cover back up there. Yeah, so I mean, I think this game looks great. I think a lot of people are really going to enjoy it, and it's definitely a game that screams Nintendo Switch.
And then it looks like Ellie's saying you can play it online with strangers now as well. I don't know if that was for Mario Party or for Advance Wars here. I know Mario Party will have online play. Maybe Advance Wars does too, though. That could be a fun aspect to throw into the mix as well.
Yeah, I think she said that for Mario Party.
Oh, it's older than Fire Emblem. I didn't know that. Is that for real? I thought Fire Emblem was older.
Oh, wow.
We're going to have to fact check that one over there, chat. But overall, our next game on the list is going to be Game & Watch Zelda Collection. I was expecting a Zelda Collection. It's the anniversary year for Zelda. I don't remember the exact anniversary they're at. I think it's around 30 or 35th, if I remember correctly. So it's a big year for that franchise. They're coming out. When we looked at Mario, we got a really cool revamp of that. It was a trio collection of Mario 64. Then you had Mario, I believe it was Sunshine. And then you had the Mario Galaxy version. Now coming out here, it's a little bit different. It is going to be a Zelda collection, but it's going to be on a Game & Watch system, similar to like the Super NES consoles that are almost like keychain size that we saw earlier a couple years ago. Now coming out with this Game & Watch collection version, you have The Legend of Zelda, The Adventure of Link, Link's Awakening, and Game & Watch Vermin with Link as a playable character. On top of that, John, and they did this just for you, there's a clock and timer based on Zelda as well to really sell this console for the gamers out there interested in it. I love the idea of a Zelda collection. Do I love the idea of going out to buy a new device for it? Not as much. I personally would have loved like a remaster of Ocarina of Time, maybe Majora's Mask. Wind Waker is another one that gets thrown around a lot, and then Twilight Princess. I think those would have probably done very well in the same style as that Nintendo collection on the Switch, but they decided to go this route instead. It's going to change things up a little bit, and it will be releasing, I believe, later this year.
I have mixed feelings on this.
Well, let's hear about them. What are your mixed feelings?
For the Game & Watch? Like, I get it. Like, in the past 10 years, there's been this craze of, like, re-releasing miniature versions of, like, OG gaming consoles, whether it's the Nintendo Entertainment System, the Super NES, the Genesis, the N64. They all come back with these small, compact versions since technology is there that allows them to do it like this with, like, 100 preloaded games in it. And it costs you, like, $150, you know, and you have all these games preloaded on it. And then, I don't know, like, why? Like, why does this have to be a separate thing? Like, why not just put this on the Switch like everything else? Like, I don't know. Like, it just feels excessive for me.
It's Nintendo, John.
I know it's Nintendo.
They want to get whatever money they can out of you.
I know.
Because then next year they're going to release it on the Switch, and they're like, "Ha, you guys still bought the old version." But who knows? It's just Nintendo does Nintendo things, and that's what we're getting. Yes, chat. I have played the Zelda games. I think my first one was originally Ocarina of Time, but then I did go back and play like A Link to the Past later on down the road. But yeah, my first initial one was Ocarina of Time on the N64. I loved it. I think it's a great game. I still watch speed runs of it today, which are super fascinating to watch people like dodge roll through a full level. It gives me some anxiety, but it is really cool to watch just how quickly they can complete the game as well.
And Ellie, if you could wear that as a watch, that's a massive watch. I mean, that's
like a full like arm.
That's like here. That's
yeah,
like
like
all
a forearm.
here is how big that's gonna. That's like your entire forearm for some people. I mean, maybe put it on a necklace. You know, I mean, what was it? One of the Paul brothers rocked a Pokemon holographic Charizard card before he got his butt whooped by Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, so why not turn into a necklace? I mean, apparently that's the total cool thing to do right now.
Yeah, I want to see someone wear that around their neck. That's going to be even heavier than on your forearm. But yeah, in the end, if you guys want some good Zelda action, you can get it. But to do so, you're going to have to buy that new Game & Watch for the Zelda collection as well. Go ahead and check that out. Again, it comes with 3 games, then a 4th game that does get customized to have Link as a playable character I believe in place of Mr. Game & Watch. And then you have the clock and time stuff as well. So if you want a Zelda-themed clock that you can just stand up somewhere, that is also available on this new device. With that being said, we missed it at the top. We did have a new character join Smash, and that is going to be Kazuya from Tekken. I'm mixed on this one. I get it. You want to throw another franchise in there, and I think Tekken is a great franchise. It has a big, let's say, a big expanse of players playing it. It's pretty popular when it comes to the FGC community. But overall, it doesn't feel super original to me. Like, you already have people like Ryu involved in the game, and you already have these similar like Street Fighter characters. Again, it's not Tekken, and I realize there is a difference there. But overall, as someone who is not heavily involved in the fighting game community, it does feel a little bit similar. I feel the same way when they add like tons of Fire Emblem characters, or when they look at a bunch of different characters from the same series, it begins to get repetitive time and time again. So while, again, I think it's great to jump into a new franchise, to bring Tekken into the mix, to continue to deepen that relationship between the two, this didn't stand out to me as like a awe-dropping character addition.
No, I mean, this was trying to get the Tekken players to play Smash. And I'm right there with you. I just don't. This announcement wasn't big for me. Like, again, Joe, you and I aren't big into the fighting game community, but like, we pay attention to it. We've seen Smash played on an esport level multiple times. I don't know. Like, to me, just one, it felt predictable that it was going to be a fighting game character. The fact that it's a Tekken character, I mean, doesn't really surprise me either. It just feels oversaturated. I mean, it feels like they're just trying to grasp for different gaming universes to bring into Smash, to try to keep the game alive and re-energized. And I like it. Don't get me wrong, but it's like it's not an announcement that I think got a lot of people super hyped. It's not an announcement that broke Twitter. It's not an announcement that broke social media. It's an announcement that came out and everyone's like, oh, okay, cool, great, Tekken, all right, awesome, moving on. I mean, it just really wasn't that great, except this part here where he drops Kirby off a ledge, which
that is pretty funny.
That was pretty good. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I think the other question is just, I don't know how many more Smash fighters are coming, like how long they're going to continue to add fighters into the game. Are they looking at a more long-term strategy now? Are they looking at ending the season pass here sooner than later? I feel like it's going to end pretty soon. Maybe it ends at the end of the year. I don't remember exactly, but it's just, as we're getting closer down to the end, you would hope there's maybe some bigger characters. Maybe you tie in, and again, I don't know how well they fit into Smash, but something like a Master Chief from Xbox, or like a Kratos from God of War over on Sony's side, or even Aloy from Horizon Zero Dawn. Like, some of these bigger name characters, if you can have the ability to tie them in, we've already seen Fortnite get all 3 of the ones I just mentioned. So there is the ability to kind of license that IP, put it into a few different games, whether it be a skin or whatever. It just feels like missed opportunities to tie in even bigger fan bases in a sense. This one, yes, you are pulling in some more fighting game community people from Tekken, but it's just another shirtless guy with the same kick attacks. It looks like Captain Falcon meets Rio or whatever, combined into a new character. It just doesn't feel like anything super unique to the game. Now, again, I don't know if Master Chief or Kratos or any of these other characters I mentioned really bring something super unique, but they do touch even bigger fan bases at least. So there's different things you can draw here and there. I think Raymond from Ubisoft would be an interesting one too. We could really name characters for days of what could come into the mix here. In the end, this was just not one that really stood out as something super exciting to me personally.
Yeah. So to just recap Joey's hot take here, picking virtual nose hairs, yes. Shirtless male fighters in Smash, no.
I am all about a WarioWare version. Sure, bring it in there. Make it a power-up. I think it would be great. The players have to jump up and grab the nose hairs, and once the final one's out, you have the ultimate orb drop down.
Oh my gosh.
I'm talking perfect. A WarioWare level, I'm sure they've done that in the past. If not, bring it back, Smash Ultimate. You heard me here first, folks. Metroid Prime. This was a big one. A lot of people, another anniversary, Metroid Prime. They're ready. We've been waiting for years. Metroid Prime 4, we got the logo. We know it's in development. And what did they do? They said, hey, yes, we're still working on Metroid Prime 4. We have nothing to show you right now. Big bummer. Let a lot of people down. But then they're like, but wait, we have one more thing. And they said Metroid Prime 5 is on the way. It's named Metroid Dread in the end. It's going to be a side-scrolling platformer. A lot of people super hyped. Now, again, very different from what we've seen with some of the other titles in the Metroid franchise, as it does take a different perspective in a sense. A lot of those older games are side-scrolling platformers. This one will be adopting that style. Again, anniversary year kind of brings a good reason to do so. It's been in development for a while. Even longer than 4, it feels like at times. But 4 will be a massive game when it eventually drops. For now, you do get this one, though. Metroid Dread is making a lot of people's top 5 lists for the overall E3 event. I think it looks good, John. I'm personally not the biggest side-scrolling platform player. But again, being a legendary IP, being one of those franchises that, like Splinter Cell, people have waited a very long time for something new. I do see this doing pretty well. Nothing else to say about Samus Aran and her power suit?
You know, I was never a Metroid fan. Like, I tried playing Metroid. I couldn't do it. And it's not a knock on the game. The game itself looks great. I know a lot of people that love playing it. It was just not a game for me. Like, I think it looks great. I may try it again. Yeah, it just didn't get me excited.
Did not get you excited. So Zero Suit John over here when the Metroid series comes to play. We'll see how you feel about this next one, though, because this was one of those titles similar to Elden Ring and Starfield and Halo Infinite. It was one of the titles that a lot of people came into E3 wanting to see, and they did get a new look at it, and that is Zelda Breath of the Wild, the sequel. Now, some people calling it Breath of the Wild 2. I've heard rumors of it being called Zelda Breath of Evil. We'll see if that ends up coming into existence, as the trailer does kind of fit that evil theme if that is the direction they end up going. But for now, we're going to call it the Zelda Breath of the Wild sequel. I think it looked good, John. I'm glad we got to see it. I am nervous about the release date. It has been pushed again, so it's going to be 2022 is what they're aiming for. That means it could get pushed again to 2023, so we could be quite a ways away, at least a year probably, of seeing this game eventually make its way to Nintendo Switch consoles. At the same point, just from the new trailer, the graphics look phenomenal. It looks very similar to that same art style we saw in Breath of the Wild, the original game. I'm not surprised by them keeping that same style, but we'll probably see some new mechanics mixed in. It sounds like weapon durability might not be a thing anymore, which would be kind of cool because that was kind of frustrating. I know some people are like, oh, the strategy behind it of using your stick only so many times or whatever. I'm like, just let me use my stick as much as I want. I don't want to go grab another stick. So I'm personally all about getting rid of the weapon durability. I see you laughing at me. And I will throw my stone for as many durability points as I have to throw it. But in the end, yeah, this game looks breathtaking. Breath of the Wild, it kind of fits into that flow very well. Some cool little mechanics shown, and I think the game flashing between like the evil versus the serene aspects does allow a lot of questions to come through for players like, ooh, what are we going to experience? Is this going to be a darker version of a Zelda game? We don't know that answer as of yet, but the new trailer does look quite good.
Yeah, it looks so good. This is how you end a showcase, Bethesda and Xbox, again, being the only mark against that showcase. I love the new trailer for Zelda. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. I know I'm definitely gonna be playing it. Can't wait for it to come out in 2022. Hopefully it's 2022. We'll keep our fingers crossed, as of course delays are still an issue as we enter into the post-COVID world. So yeah, I mean, other than that, Joey, I mean, I think the trailer was great. I think a lot of people are hyped for it, and rightfully so. It was definitely a game that a lot of people wanted to see. And we got it, and I think it delivered.
Absolutely. Definitely an exciting way to end the showcase, an exciting way to end E3. Now, there are a couple other things to bring your attention to. So we do have Steam Next Fest. That is tomorrow. That amazing announcement from Gabe Newell over there. So if you guys want to check out a bunch of games, particularly a lot of indie titles, they will be available on Steam. And then over on Xbox consoles, they are running one there as well. So a lot of new demos being playable there. I tried Tunic a little while ago. That game feels like Dark Souls meets like Legend of Zelda. Like it's very like nice and friendly graphics and hard as hell combat, but a really cool indie game over there, as well as a number of other available. Again, Steam Next Fest, and then I believe it's ID at Xbox is what the Xbox one is called. That's in relation to Summer Game Fest. So lots of great indie titles to go out there and demo and see if you eventually want to pay for them down the road when they eventually find their way to releases. To wrap up our E3 coverage, though, Chad, if you have any other games you want us to just briefly mention, go ahead and type it in chat. John, for you, I want to talk scores. So looking at the overall E3, I feel like some showcases were underwhelming in comparison. Some other ones really exceeded expectations. What are your thoughts overall? What would you kind of rank these showcases and games that we saw?
I think the best showcase has to be Xbox Bethesda. I think everything that they delivered was absolutely amazing. The fact that they showed 30 games, 27 of which will be available on the Xbox Game Pass. That alone just really got a lot of people hyped and energized. I think they did a fantastic job showing the new IPs, showing Forza, showing Halo. Starfield was absolutely fantastic. There's a lot of other games that they showed in there as well. That was really exciting. I thought overall their presentation was the best put together. Again, the only mark being that last game at the end of their showcase, their one more thing, slightly redeemed by their mini fridge. I think that has to be my highest rated. I mean, are we doing this out of 10? Are we doing this out of 100?
Out of 10 would be
out
correct.
of 10. It's a solid 9.5 in my book. I think that's definitely the benchmark.
Yeah, I like that. I would agree. I think they were the highest showcase out here. I came in expecting their showcase to be good. I was thinking around like a 7.5 initially. In the end, they exceeded expectations. I think Halo Infinite silenced pretty much every single one of the haters or doubters out there. Even within the Halo fan base, there's a lot of like division as far as should Sprint be in the game? Should Sprint not be in the game? Should power abilities be available at launch? Or should we have to pick them up on the map? And so on and so forth. It feels like I don't really see anyone complaining about anything anymore. So I think that's a big accomplishment. For 343, a studio that's released two Halos to, let's say, mixed acclaim. Some people love like the story in Halo 4. Pretty much everyone hated the story in Halo 5. So overall, they're leaving a lot of room for improvement. Then even with the Infinite Showcase we saw last year, a lot of people not super impressed. I have not seen a single negative comment so far about this Halo. It was #1 trending on YouTube for the past 2 days as well. So it's looking very good, and I think that alone kind of bumped it up for me. I think the Starfield reveal, while I definitely wanted more, I still got something, so that kind of bumped up a few points. Forza Horizon 5, I was expecting it to look good. I wasn't expecting to look photorealistic. So that, again, adds a few points for me as well. So in the end, I don't think I'm quite a 9.5, but I think I am somewhere up there, probably around an 8.5. I think it was very good. Like you mentioned, I think the ending could have changed a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I am a little higher. I don't know. Because you see a lot of great Game Pass games, so I think they pushed that agenda very well. You saw a number of really cool indie titles in there too. So they kind of hit just about everything in a sense. So yeah, overall, it was a pretty high-ranked showcase, and I think that was your best one of the event. The #2 one for me would be the Nintendo showcase. I think Nintendo's was quite good. Breath of the Wild was a great way to end it. Probably the best ending of all the showcases we saw, except maybe Ubisoft's with Avatar was up there as well. You look at the overall showcase, a lot of nostalgia being hit. Some people calling it filler games. Me being an older gamer like that, playing some of these games on N64, I think it's a huge nostalgia factor. I'm super excited for a lot of these. While we didn't get Metroid 4, we did get some kind of new Metroid game, so I think that checks that box. You did get a new Smash character. Again, not the greatest Smash character in my humble opinion, but it is a new Smash character, and it's from a fighting game community, so you're able to kind of get that mix going on as well. And the Zelda collection I like, but again, I was hoping for like Twilight Princess and Wind Waker and Ocarina of Time. So with all of that kind of in the mix, my personal opinions plus what we did end up seeing, I think I give Nintendo the second best score, and I think it's going to be like around a 7.5 for me.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think Nintendo was definitely the second best showcase overall. I think 7.5. I think maybe even an 8. I think they did a really good job. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they played to the nostalgia factor. That was definitely what they were going for, and I think they did a fantastic job at it. Hopefully it reintroduces those games to the older gamers. Hopefully for the younger gamers out there, they're super excited to see the next evolution of some of these titles as well that may get them fired up as well. I mean, gaming is so great. It's one of those things that is so cross-generational, and it's such a great way for parents to get involved in their kids' lives also by having fun playing these games. Like, again, family night on the N64 playing Mario Kart 64 was great. It's always fun as a kid to beat your parents at a racing game and then look at them and be like, how can you drive a car? You can't even drive Princess Peach's go-kart on Rainbow Road. Like, what are you doing? Kind of thing. Like, it's a lot of fun. So hopefully the Nintendo Showcase did that. That was able to connect those generations of gamers together and hopefully creating stronger relationships between parents and their children when it comes to gaming. I think it's fantastic. I'd definitely put it up there, 7.5, 8 for me. I'll probably go a little bit closer to 8 just to be on the same page with everything else being slightly higher than Joey. So I'll give it 8, but I definitely do agree it was the second best.
Yeah, second best. And Ellie in chat also mentioning a game that I had never played the original. I didn't even know this was a thing. It was called Danganronpa, I believe is how it's pronounced. I don't know if you saw this one, John, but it's like a super creepy panda-looking bear thing. I did post in there. I don't know if we need to show footage on the live stream here. But Ellie, I have no idea what this game is. I know a lot of people are excited for it. To me, it just stood out as something I'm definitely not going to play at night. But overall, yeah, if people are excited for this game coming to Switch, I think that's all the power to them. And Monster Hunter was another one you mentioned. Monster Hunter doing exceptionally well on Switch. This is another game from that collection coming over. Monster Hunter just in general is pretty much selling out wherever they end up selling it. It did extremely well on PC. It did well on Xbox and PlayStation, obviously on Switch as well. And another title coming over there from that franchise, I think is a huge win for everyone around. Are you putting that crazy thing up? Is that what you're doing?
Is that what we need to do?
If you want to show the crazy panda. I have never heard of this series. Have you heard of this?
No, I have not actually.
So we'll put the crazy panda up as we talk about our next one. For me, the third showcase is going to be what we saw from Devolver Digital. I think they do a really good job of showing off a nice variety of indie titles. A lot of those titles did look pretty good in the end. Death's Door being one of the ones that stood out to me the most. But there are a number of other indie titles from that showcase that a lot of people liked. On top of that, again, where the PC gaming show didn't quite do well, in my humble opinion, Devolver always delivers in, and that's kind of their showmanship. I do a really good job of like an obscure way of making it kind of their show. It's not that corporate, let's put someone on stage, let's talk about what we're bringing to the table. It's purely let's show games and do it in the weirdest way possible. Devolver always gets the job done there. And I think, again, it's one of those things that they do very well. And that translated once again to the E3 show this year.
These pandas. This is so cool.
Yeah, Ellie, once we're done recording, we'll have to hop into a game room. I'm very curious what is going on in this game. Because it kind of looks like Ace Attorney meets super creepy panda.
Oof. I don't know. Is it like a clue-based game where like you have to like discover clues and like find the killer or something?
I don't know, but I'm running the opposite direction of that creepy panda, that's for sure.
Yeah, this is insane.
It literally looks like Ace Attorney meets super creepy panda, like Chucky the panda. But yeah, so that's a game. Danganronpa is coming over to your Nintendo Switch. Oh, there's like a board game aspect to it as well, I guess. There's a lot of different things going on in the game. If you guys want to check that out, the trailer is now available as it was shown in that Nintendo Direct earlier. John, is Devolver Digital going to be your third, or are you leaning more towards something like Ubisoft with the Rainbow Six game, the Avatar game, different things like that? Or maybe that Guardians of the Galaxy game did end up swaying you towards Square Enix in the end?
No, Square Enix was definitely disappointing. Mainly, it was so... If we're talking about what was disappointing, Square Enix is my showcase. Just because there was so much that they could have done that they didn't do. I feel like a title like Life is Strange, with the remastered edition coming out and the new title Life is Strange True Colors coming out, they had such an opportunity to kind of take a deep dive into the story of those characters. Life is Strange, a series that does a great job at making the player think about what's going on in the real world. I feel like they just really missed an opportunity by not doing that, just kind of being very surface with everything. Square Enix was probably my most disappointing because I had such high hopes. Maybe I didn't lower my expectations enough for them. And I feel like that may have been the cause of me rating them so low. But no, Devolver Digital has to be the number 3. They always do a great job. It's funny. They know how to keep the attention of the audience. The games they show were a lot of fun. It's not as corporate and as polished as like an Xbox Bethesda presentation, but that's what I like about it. It's different. It's unique. I give it a solid 7. Overall, I thought they always do a great job. So I didn't leave upset. I was pretty happy after watching it. I think they did it again.
There you go. So it is unanimous. John and I here, we are ranking Xbox Bethesda as our top showcase this year. Nintendo in that second spot, just a little bit behind them. And then last but not least is Devolver with their unique presentation style. Unfortunately, Drew was not able to make it on tonight, but I have a feeling he would probably fall in line with those 3 as well. In the end, I think E3 was solid this year. I don't think it was great. I think it was somewhere around good. Overall, Xbox, Bethesda, and Nintendo definitely carrying a lot of the showcases this year. In the end, they showed quite a few games. They were able to hit some of those nostalgia roots, give us a good look at some new indie titles coming out, as well as push some of their great first-party games forward with some new trailers, CGI, gameplay, all of that good mix all together. Okay, last but not least, John, as we come to wrap up this E3 recap episode, the last thing I have to ask you, if you could pick one game, and I know this is difficult, one game that stood out kind of as your game of the show this year, what would it be?
Oh my God. For game of the year for 2021 or just game, like the game from all of E3?
Game of E3. So a game that was shown at E3 and not even including Summer Game Fest, just purely E3.
That's tough. I'll have to go Starfield. Again, it's a trailer that didn't give us much information, but it gave us enough to be excited. It gave us enough to want more, to pay attention to it. And I feel like when you're creating a new IP from a mega studio like a Bethesda, you tease the title, you tease the logo, then you have a short little teaser like what we saw here at E3. That's exactly what you want. Like, don't spill everything up front. The game's not coming out for another year and a half. That's completely fine. But you did what you came out to do, and that's to give us a better understanding of what the game is going to be, show us what the game is going to look like potentially in its final product, gave us a little taste of how it's going to look, how it's going to interact, kind of like the whole idea of being in space, being able to travel, being in the ship. I feel like it did enough to really have that major impact it was looking for. The PR and marketing team were absolutely fantastic in putting together this trailer for Bethesda Xbox. I think they knocked it out of the ballpark. I feel like maybe Halo might be a close number 2 just because of the hype around that series in itself. But I feel like Starfield, just with how well they've done everything with it, has to be the game of E3 so far.
I had a feeling you were going to go Starfield, and I think that's a great one. It's definitely up in my top 3 area for honorable mentions. When it comes down to Starfield, I think my biggest thing was I just wanted to know more, but they're not at that stage yet, and I think that's perfectly fine. What they showed was great. You had Todd Howard come out and talk a little bit. Also, I think if I was a bigger racing fan, I would probably pick Forza here. The graphics look great. We got to see some game modes of what that looks like. We got to see quite a few different cars. We saw some of the customization. We saw some of the environments. So I think Forza is another really good mention up here. But for me, it's going to be Halo, and it's kind of cheating because I'm taking into mind what we did see last year as well. And I think the biggest thing that really pushed it forward for E3 this year for me was the fact that they silenced all those haters. You had all those people coming out complaining about graphics or complaining about the grapple hook and all these different things last year. And this year they came out and just silenced everyone. So with that in mind, that becomes my game of the show because of that. Like, you get a new look at campaign, you get some great stuff with multiplayer. The trailer was just so well done and packed so full of teasers. But the biggest thing for me is just coming out, knowing what happened last year, and then being able to come out and just silence all of those haters, show everyone in a sense what they wanted to bring that community together, I think is a huge accomplishment. So yeah, Xbox Bethesda killed it this year, whether it be Starfield, Halo, Forza Horizon, whether it be Nintendo with Zelda. There were a number of really cool games shown, even though a number of other showcases seemed like they were lacking overall. But again, guys, COVID was a thing. A lot of studios are behind on development. A lot of these publishers suffering from that as well. And they don't really want to build out a showcase with games that are not quite ready. We saw it with Cyberpunk. They released too early, and that ended up very poorly. We saw it with Halo last year, where they showed the game a little bit too early, and that got a lot of negative feedback. And not every studio will be able to have the turnaround that Halo did have, because Xbox has a lot of money and Microsoft's pouring a lot of money into that game. So I think overall, you're going to have to give some of these development teams a little bit more time to get their craft together. And then eventually you'll see a bigger showcase from someone like an Ubisoft, from someone like a Square Enix later down the road once these games are ready to show. But for now, John, I think overall E3 was decent. I think I would give the overall event probably like a 7 this year. I feel like there's a lot of room for improvement. This was their first year online, so I keep that in mind as well as the whole COVID thing. The E3 portal, whether it be for media, whether it be for participants, it felt really lackluster. There really wasn't a ton for anyone to really accomplish there. Sure, there was a couple video clips and there was a couple ways to interact and get interviews and things here and there. But overall, it really did feel like it was their first year online, and it felt like, I don't want to say it was a last-minute decision, but it wasn't quite built out to probably where their expectations were. So I think give it more time, it probably would have looked better, but they'll be back in person next year. So I don't know if we'll ever quite see what that would have looked like with some more time behind it. And then the showcases, again, COVID causing delays. Xbox and Nintendo came out well. Some of the other ones not so well. So overall, I think about a 7 is probably what I would rate it.
Yeah, I think 7.5 is completely fair, taking all the challenges they had into consideration. Nothing, I mean, yes, you had your showcases that stood out. You had your showcases that were absolutely fantastic. I think the big detractor was there were so many showcases that were just meh, that really didn't live up to the hype, that didn't really give us a lot of information, that didn't really give us a lot of anything. I'm looking at you, Valve and Steam, for repeating already released information and touting it as new. I just think that was just the icing on the crap cake, if you will. Of just the of some of the mediocrity that we saw in E3. So I think a 7 or a 7.5 I think is a very fair rating. I think overall they did a good job with what the cards that were dealt to them, being in a pandemic year as well still. But with that being said, with the world coming out of the pandemic, I would expect next year, fingers crossed, this event to be back live in person. And expect E3 to return to their normal glory that we're used to seeing in years past.
Absolutely. So we'll keep an eye out for that. Again, guys, just a quick reminder before we go into the final closing here. Steam Next Fest does start tomorrow. You have the Xbox demos on Xbox console starting today, so those starting to roll out into tomorrow as well. So about a week to try different demos on Steam as well as Xbox. And last but not least, Xbox Bethesda is doing another additional secondary kind of showcase on Thursday, where instead of just showing off a bunch of different games, they're going to show interviews with developers, hit on some of those games like Hellblade that was not shown at this showcase, just to dive in and see where those projects are. So if you want some more information on some of those games coming to Xbox consoles and PC, that will be Thursday. I don't have the time in front of me, but I think it's early afternoon.
Helps if I actually have the Bluetooth connected so I can play the music. Did it connect? There we go. Nation, that is going to do it for this special edition of Level Up Live. Before you go, head over to patreon.com/OTN and consider becoming a part of the Overtime Network. In return, you will get access to exclusive content that nobody else in the world can get unless they are a part of OTN Media. If you have not already done so, make sure you follow the show on Twitch to catch the next episode of Level Up Live. If you listen to the show on our podcast feed, please do leave us a review. Level Up Podcast is available on Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, and Google Play, and pretty much anywhere else that podcast feeds are available. We would love to hear from you. In fact, we love to hear from the community so much, Joey. we have multiple ways for them to reach out to us. What are some of those, right? Some of those ways?
Absolutely, guys. Head on over to Twitter and find us at Level Up Live. That is LVLUP Live. In addition to that, you can follow the umbrella company OTN Media on Twitter and Facebook at OTN Media, as well as on Instagram at OTN_media. Last but not least, hit us up with a follow, maybe even a Twitch Prime sub if you're feeling generous over here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/OTN Media. Level Up Podcast, typically Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. It has been a little bit different because of E3 this past week or so, but overall, we will be going back to that Monday and Thursday schedule at 8 p.m. Eastern Time next week, as well as a number of other streams throughout the week.
Yeah, you can blame me for no Thursday show. I have a WizDG broadcast. My apologies. So, yes, Monday we will do that. So, Nation, you already covered everything else, right? Yeah, you did. I didn't cut you off, right? Perfect.
No, you're great.
All right. So make sure you tune in this upcoming Monday, the 21st, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, as we cover the latest and greatest in gaming and esports news. Do your ears and eyes a favor. Hit that sub button and follow button to know when the next episode of Level Up Live is ready for your listening and viewing pleasures. We will see you all next week on Monday. Have a fantastic week. Have an even greater weekend. Remember, be nice to your fellow gamers online. And as always,
Level up.